Hey everybody, welcome to The Ordinary Professor. My name is Dr. Kortney Peagram and I am the host of this channel. So I do things all social skills. When you think about my work, I educate, I facilitate, I coach on social skills. So what are social skills? It's the way you communicate, it's the way you show up, it's how you approach a conversation, it's how you build trust, establish psychological safety, and all things that you do interpersonally to build and sustain relationships. It's friendships, workplace relationships, anywhere, that's social skills. Also conflict and feedback. So those are some things part of social skills. So they're like in a bucket, right? And so every week I like to develop some content to share with you some ideas, tips, tricks, or resources. So this is what this channel is meant for. Now, a few things. This is not a way for you to win a conversation, win a friendship, win over something. It's about establishing the baseline of how you can best communicate, advocate for yourself, get the things that you want, right? And so that's part of why it's important to develop our social skills. I tell my students and my clients all the time that, you can ask AI for advice. They can even coach you, right? The one thing AI do is they can't do it for you. So you have to learn how to do the thing. So that's why social skills are important. Now, I'm on a series of feedback. I'm teaching a class right now on feedback, so I'm all things feedback. And I'm about, in like 15 minutes, I'm going to jump on and I'm going to do a course for 2 hours for this amazing company on their third series of feedback. And so this is why I like to develop my content when I'm doing classes, because I'm like fresh in it and I'm developing new things. And it came to me as I took a walk today I'm trying to teach them like why it's important to give feedback in the moment and do it with compassion and thoughtfulness, right? And so a few things came to mind is when you're giving feedback, there's a few things you have to think about. It's not about the way you would do it. Feedback isn't given so that you can put your own 2 cents to it. Feedback isn't given because you want to have it your way, right? So, and sometimes that's hard. That's why I keep repeating that. It's not about the way you would do it. It's about growing the other person. Feedback is a gift. So if we really truly believe that feedback is a gift, then the idea is when we share feedback, it's to grow the other person. It's not to criticize, to judge, to make something like perfect. So I was thinking about perfectionism too. And sometimes people give a lot of feedback because they are perfectionists and this is not the way that it could be done. But it doesn't mean it's necessarily wrong. And then also when you're giving feedback, put yourself in the other person's shoes. Do they know that they did something wrong? Do they have the tools to improve? Are you attacking their character? So these are really important when we're setting up the tone to give feedback. Now, if you're like, I don't have time, life is fast, my work is fast, I'm stressed out, I just need to say it and get it done. Well, that's good for you. If you want to keep your employees, you have to figure out a better way. You can still say it effectively and direct and in the moment, but with kindness and thoughtfulness. So I want you to think about feedback really being a gift. If you truly believe that, then what are you trying to grow in your employees? You need to know their areas of strengths and weaknesses and what are they willing to develop. Now, let's think about what I just said. What are they willing to develop? You might see great potential in your employee, but that's not something they want to really focus on. And if that's not it, no matter how much you push to try to develop that, you're going to hit a wall. So all the feedback in the world is not going to fix it. Now, if you can figure out what they want to develop, and if it's aligned with your mission, vision, and values in your company, and it works with what you're trying to get to, that's the perfect alignment. And that's when it's important to push feedback, make sure that you're giving it consistently, right? And helping improve that person. Now, the last thing when it comes to that type of feedback too is it has to be balanced. Everything in life is balanced. So when we think about, this is a little, where some of my mantras with light, there comes darkness, right? After the storm, there's calm, so all these things, right? So just think about balance generally, okay? Feedback needs to be balanced. It can't be all bad and it can't be all good. Because if it's always all good, few things. I pause and I look in the distance. I've done that, right? So in my early career, I was giving feedback and I was so afraid that my employees would leave me. I needed them. That I would always focus on the good, right? Like, what if I just focus on what they're really, really good at, and I never tell them what they really could develop on? So, or I like thought their areas of growth. And even when I gave them the feedback to look to development, I still focus on just the good, which that's great for some areas, but it has to be, again, balanced. Because what I was doing is, I love to say this, I think about this a lot. Like, I was like developing these little monsters, like, and they felt like they could do no wrong. It was like almost they felt privileged, right? And so I remember being like in, I think, entrepreneurial or like leader meeting or networking event and being like, my employees are so privileged. And I was like, hello, let's look at accountability here. Who's doing the thing? It's me. I'm not giving them constructive feedback for them to grow. I'm not giving them balanced approach. I'm just like focusing on what they want. I'm so afraid I'm going to lose them. I'm telling them how amazing they are. And so they go and they do all these things and they're like, they think they can do no wrong. And no one can do no wrong. Intent versus impact. Even when we show up, sometimes we say things, it hurts other people. It wasn't our intention, but it happens. So it was a great learning lesson that not feedback should be all bad and not all good. And in my class, I go through like the freeze, flight, fight, and fawn. And I'm such a fawner, so I've been working on that. And that's a way that I used to give feedback, because I would just fawn over people and I'd be like, well, if I give them enough positive recognition, then they'll do better. They'll do great. The problem is that they weren't learning when their mistakes were happening, right? Wasn't calling that out. So when you want to give balanced feedback, so you might take the approach of just rip off the Band-Aid, give it to them straight. You need to have a setup. They have to be aware of the feedback you're giving and how you're going to delivering it. And also, I always use this trick, the index card. Everything you want to share about the feedback you're about to give, write on an index card, right? Bullet point it. So you're going to address behaviors, the impact, the bigger picture, the why, and how they fix it, right? Now, that's really important to have bullet points, but it's also good to have questions. So ask possibly why a certain thing happened, or why was there mistakes, or why are they late? So not like, well, why were you late? Like, tell me more. I want to understand you. Why are you showing up late? Is there something I'm missing, right? Help me understand. Now, tone is everything. So come with a neutral, empathetic tone when giving feedback. Now, the other thing that I feel is really, really important is asking people permission. Hey, we're about to have a difficult talk. Is this a good time? Now, they might say no, and people were challenging me. What if they say no? Then they say no. Be like, okay, well, when's a good time to chat? And most probably they'll be like, well, I guess now, or maybe in 15 minutes. Because you're asking for permission and you're empowering them, they know that it's coming. Now, if you're like, I don't have time to ask for permission, or I don't want to do that, that's fine. Then just say, hey, sit them down and be like, Larry, we're about to have a hard conversation. And then factually share what's going on and say, like, how would you like to approach this situation? That's when you tie in that question. Or as I'm saying that, what's coming to mind? I'm going to pause here. I just shared a lot. Why don't you tell me what you're hearing? Or tell me if the situation is accurate. Am I missing something? So share your facts, right? Then pause and ask questions regarding the facts. Then you can talk about how it felt, right? If people got hurt in the process, if you're frustrated, feelings, I feel feelings are good to come after facts, because you don't want to intertwine them because they get messy. So if you can split the facts from the feelings, it gives you more power in your conversation and clarity and direction. And then after you share how you feel, or how the person felt, or how the situation all felt, then go and ask them like how they felt. See if there's missing links. As a leader, as a supervisor, you still have a role here. It's not all them, right? So maybe you're like, I'm not a micromanager. They just do whatever they need to do, and then I check in on them and I give them feedback. Well, maybe they need more direction, right? So then turning it after the feeling part, saying like, how can I support you? What is something I could do better, right? So that can be really helpful. Because if they share, maybe they need more support, resources, be like, okay, great. That moves us to our next action item. What's one thing we want to change so this doesn't happen again? Or how can I and you do better so that we move past this? So what you want to do is you want to talk about the issue, okay? Then factually play it out, just explain the why it's not okay or what happened, the bigger picture. And then after you've explored, you want to move into the directions of future. How do we ensure this doesn't happen again? Or how do we ensure your growth? And that's a great way of like closing out the conversation so that you have action steps to help your employee move the needle forward on the item they have to work on. Now, finally, you need to follow up. So it's via email. I think that's perfect. So you shouldn't be giving feedback via email, but you should follow up via email saying, you know what, Larry, we discussed this and this and this today, and here's some things that we talked about. I'd like to have a meeting I'm putting on the calendar for 2 weeks. You can do that. Or you can ask your employee to manage up and say, hey, listen, Larry, just send me a quick email, kind of what you understood, what are our next steps, and then I think we should get something on the calendar. So check my calendar and book me for 15 minutes in 2 weeks. So those are two approaches of managing. Depending on your style, they can be really helpful. If you're trying to empower your employees and teach them management skills, then managing up is a great way by having them recap in an email and then set a meeting for you, right? So those are a few ideas of how to do the process of feedback. Obviously, it's not as easy as it seems. It's about practice, but here's some key tips. So I hope that when we think about feedback, this could be helpful. And I dare you to try, my 5F feedback model. So we just went through it. So facts, feelings, right? Future action items, right? And then forward thinking and follow up. So that's the 5F for feedback. And I love using that model. And I just walked you through it, and it took us less than 10 minutes to go through this model. So as you practice this model more and more, it's almost instinctual, but always remember, key thing here, create an index card. So you know exactly what you're saying and you're not deviating, because that can create emotional deregulations and we don't want that. So being prepared is critical. Using a framework or model can be very helpful, and always follow up. So that's it from the Ordinary Professor. Thanks for joining me, and like or follow, and please comment if you try some of these things. I'd love to hear how it's working out for you. Have a great day. Thanks.